Hello, lovely people on YouTube. Um, I am the religious fanboy, and I am going to review comics while sharing scripture. And this month's theme being the month of January, the first month of the year, the theme for comic books Hello people of YouTube, it's a religious fanboy here again. And I'm going to, starting this month of February, I am going to start doing something special. I am going to start reviewing also some DBZ episodes while doing objective summaries and comic book reviews. So I will go ahead and start with the shorter thing, what will be the objective and this is from part 5 of Dragon Ball Z Kai, but the title of the episode was I'll Fight Frieza, the secretive Super Saiyan, I believe. I am also going to give my opinion on this. I really enjoyed this episode. I am a huge fan of the character from Dragon Ball Z Trunks. This is kinda his debut, kind of, in Dragon Ball Z Kai, and I just really enjoyed the episode, and the action was... I really liked the action, and mainly it's about Trunks fights Frieza and his father, King Cold. Spoiler, he defeats him. During the fight he turned Super Saiyan. I really enjoy Vegeta's reaction to finding out the mysterious new person turned Super Saiyan, and that's pretty much all that happens. Oh, and also the episode ends with Trunks telling the Z fighters that he knows where they can find, that he knows where Goku's gonna be and everything. And now I am going to review the comic. I actually got this in the mail just this week. Teen Titans issue number 7. Possible spoiler alert, but I'll try not to give away anything really. It involves the team is bringing down a few scientists on Governor's Island, and they found out they're doing these experiments to make biological weapons. And then they have this big, really cool fight with one of the main scientists, but they eventually defeats them, and the scientists get arrested, and during the transportation the car gets attacked and explodes, and one of the scientists walks away pretty much saying just as according to plan, and that's how the comic book ends. This is another really good book, really good issue, and I am more and more liking... I'm gonna try to find her name. His name, I'm really enjoying Will Pfeiffer's work on Teen Titans recently, especially with recent issues. And sometimes I struggle with the verse is, and then I am going to read the Bible. I am going to quote a Bible verse that we've been memorizing at my church recently. What the verse is Psalms Proverbs 1:11-10. The fear of the if you have a certain kind of Bible, it might be different in yours. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. All who follow his precepts have good understanding. To him belongs eternal praise. God bless you, and see you next time. because that is a really good thing. And the setting and stuff like that. I really like this because it actually reminds me of the main graphic novel that this reminds me of is actually Dark Knight Returns. What with like the newscasting and like the gray area with the justice system and everything. Well, I just think that those kind of things make for a cool aspect of a good story. And it kind of makes the heroes kind of more gray and not just black and white. What I think makes the story more interesting because it actually makes the viewer or the reader have to think. Instead of just knowing like, he's a hero, he's a villain, they're gonna fight. And that is all for this video. May God be with you, and see you next time. Hello people of YouTube. Last anime I reviewed was Sword Art Online. This video I'm actually gonna start reviewing another 90s anime besides DBZ, Cowboy Bebop. But first, let's see what random passage we open up to. I'm gonna read the first 5 verses of Mark chapter 14. After 2 days it was the Passover and the festival of unleavened bread. The chief priests and the scribes were looking for a teacher's way to arrest and kill him not during the festival. They said, or there may be rioting among the people. While he was in Bethany, at the house of Simon, who had a serious skin disease, as he was reconciling at the table, a woman came with an alabaster jar of pure and expensive fragrant oil of nard. She broke the jar and poured it on his head, but some were expressing indignation. I'm sorry, some of these words I can't pronounce. To one another, why has his fragrant oil been wasted? For this oil might have been sold for more than 300 darnye and given to the poor. They began to scold her. And like I did with Sword Art Online, the first review I did of that, I am only gonna review the first 2 episodes. First, I'm gonna give a little bit of background information. There is the spaceship called the Cowboy Bebop. What the main protagonist is a former mafia member known as Spike, and his friend Jet, who they go on bounties, hunting down criminals just basically to make a quick buck, and because they don't have very much money. Well, I really like the first episode because it's a really cool pilot. What they end up fighting a crime boss that has like a drug addiction. What is basically a big fancy steroid thing that kind of makes for some disturbing imagery of faces. Well, I really enjoyed the pilot. It set the premise really well, and it was enjoyable. And in the second episode, there is this dog that is being sold by, I guess, like this one criminal that has a boss on their head. And something that is kind of cool that I really like about the premise of them just trying to get a quick buck even though they barely make enough money to survive. I kind of think of that kind of reminds me of times when God has provided for me in my life. But there's this really cool story that I'm gonna talk about. In one time while I was at scout camp, it was actually the last time I went to scout camp. There was one day when I was walking back from one of my merit badge classes back to the campsite, and it just started pouring down rain. And I was wearing glasses and everything, and the water was coming down at an angle, so it was basically hitting me right in the eyes and the glasses and everything. So I could barely see anything. And while I was walking, I was still trying to get back to camp, but I knew I couldn't make it back there, so while I was walking, I prayed and asked for there to be a shelter that I could stop and sit by and sit under until the rain stopped. And then, as I was alone, after walking a little bit longer after I finished the prayer, I found this weird entrance into a woodsy area that was like a paved trail, and it led to the camp chapel. So I walked into the chapel and sat down in the very front row. And then I looked up, and this is how I knew it was a chapel. When I looked up and saw the roof, I saw a wooden cross suspended from the roof. And that's also the moment that I knew that was an act of God that I found that place. Just seeing that cross there and seeing, after the rain stopped, the sun shining on the back of it, I knew that my prayer had been answered. And that is just a really, really cool story that I've shared with quite a few of my friends. And now I'm gonna go on to finish up the second episode review. And the really cool part about while Spike catches the person, I'd say the fight sequences are even more entertaining in the second episode. And they end up talking. The fight actually takes place in a pawn shop, what is really fun to watch. They did a lot of good art in that fight scene. That's something that I really admire about this series, is the art with the slow, how the animation flows really smoothly and everything, especially during the fight scenes, with the guns being fired and people running around. I really like some of the animation with that. And Jet and Spike do end up taking the dog and protecting the dog, and they do catch the bounty hunter. And that is where the episode ends. With that being said, may God be with you, and see you next time. Hello, people of YouTube. I haven't made a video in a while, but I am gonna be playing catch up now. So I'm gonna start off where we left off with my last video. What I'm gonna finish by finishing my first month of Dragon Ball Z / comic book reviews. What the comics I'm gonna be reviewing today are Grayson number 7 and Batman and Robin issue number 39. And the episode I am reviewing today, I'm looking just to make sure I get the name right. Goku's new... Oh. Welcome back, Goku. Confessions of the Mysterious Youth Trunks. I'll start with the episode. It was a really good episode. I like the scenes of sparring between Trunks and Goku. I thought that was really neat and fun to watch. And I also really like the origins and the storytelling of what happens to Z fighters. And I just thought it was a really entertaining episode. It was a pretty good episode. I'll just set it on there. And then I will start with the Grayson review. But this is a very good comic. What happens in the comic, there are potential spoilers in here. Well, I highly recommend reading this book if you want to like pause the video, quickly read the book, and then watch this video, or whatever. This is a good comic. I especially like how they actually incorporated Bible stuff into this comic, and I thought it was really neat. Because, while they are fighting in the Fist of Cain, and, some background information, throughout, like, the first, story arc in Grayson, they've been collecting, like, these super organs that have all kinds of super different abilities. But this is the last one, what is the super brain, what causes people to just become, like, instantly angry. And, the main bad guys of the comic are this organization called the Fist of Cain. And, they go undercover as a band and cause this big riot at, like, this festival / concert thing. What leads to a big fight, but, meanwhile the fight begins. Grayson has recently been captured by the organization that Midnighter works for. And he has to, this is where the Bible stuff comes in. He is talking to the head of Midnighter's agency. And it actually talks a lot about forgiveness and how we're not supposed to cast judgment and stuff like that. What I really enjoyed. Well, I'm not going to go too in depth with it because I really enjoyed it, and I think it was definitely my most favorite part of the book, so I wouldn't necessarily want to give too much of that away. But I loved this issue. It was a very good, solid issue, and I really liked the Grayson comic book title, just because, like, you get the feeling of a superhero comic, and, it's like a superhero comic book, but it also has a feel of, like, an old James Bond film at times. I really like the James Bond films also, so it was a great issue. It was. And then I'm down to my last comic book. Now I'll be reviewing Batman and Robin issue number 39. Something that I really enjoyed is like the homage they pay to Action Comics number 1 in the cover. If you look at this cover really close, and then you go and look at the cover for Action Comics number 1, the debut of Superman, it is drawn with different stuff in it, but like the setup is pretty close to the same cover as Action Comics number 1. But that kind of little hint thing I thought was really cool and really neat. And what I think I really enjoyed this comic. It actually starts with Damian Wayne using his new superpowers to kind of strike fear into a few of Batman's villains. He doesn't necessarily hurt him, but he does threaten them. Batman ends up having to save the villain because Damian loses his grip on the rope that he's like holding them up with. You get to see this nice, bonding, heartwarming conversation with Bruce Wayne and Damian Wayne. They're fishing, and Damian Wayne's asking about his powers. And I just thought it was really nice, and that conversation ended really nicely. Then there was this one thing that made me laugh. They had to catch at least one fish before they came back. So Damian Wayne actually flies underneath the water, picks up the boat, and skewers a fish with the fishing pole, and I just thought that was really, really funny. And then then there was this something going on with the Justice League, and Damian was allowed to go with Batman, and then there's some really funny stuff with Damian Wayne meets Shazam, and their conversation, it was hard to read just because it made me laugh really hard, just because you could tell Shazam was being kind of childish, but Damian was being really grown up in his side of the conversation. And just those two points bouncing off of each other was just hilarious. I also really enjoyed this issue. It's actually one of my most favorite comics that I've honestly read in a pretty long time. And the verse that I'm gonna quote today is John 3:17. I'm gonna do the King James version. God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that through him the world shall be saved. And this was my last Dragon Ball review until I do this mini-series coming up where I'm going to be reviewing the Android Saga and Forever Evil. So with that being said, may God be with you and see you next time.